Hey everybody, it's John Cummings from barefootandrich.com again. Have you ever asked yourself, is Twitter for me? Do I need Twitter for my business? I just don't get it. Are you saying those things? Well, I'd like to change your mind about that on Friday, August 16th at 1 p.m. when I have an interview with Michael D. Butler Sr., the leading Twitter expert, especially for marketing books, coaching, speaking, you name it. And he's been on Fox. He's had clients on CNN, Dr. Phil, Fox News, Fox Business, and so many other major media outlets. I don't want you to miss this. Friday, August 16th at 1 p.m. Join me for Twitter Marketing with Michael D. Butler Sr. He's the expert. He's a great guy. He's my friend, and I would love to share him with you.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks so much for the invite, and to all of your Barefoot and Rich crowd community. I know you're starting an online movement and really empowering entrepreneurs. So I want to say we're honored to be on the Barefoot and Rich show with John Cummings, and we've got some great practical things. Don't go anywhere. Grab a pen and a legal pad. I'm going to give you some great tools, tips, tricks, why Twitter is important, some free tools you can use today to make your life easier, save you time, and make you money on Twitter.
Okay, great. Well, Michael, before we start, I want to just let people know a little bit more about you. I know that a lot of the people here are already your followers, but a lot of the people on my list were excited to come and learn from you. So I'm going to read really quickly some from your bio. Michael is a serial entrepreneur and personal development catalyst and has been called a reinvention specialist and personal branding coach. You may have seen Michael on Fox News and has had clients on Fox News, CNN, Dr. Phil, Fox Business, Inc. 500, movie deals, Dallas Morning News, and on many more. And Michael basically helps authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs sell more books online so they can charge more for their speaking and consulting. So the way he does that is through his humor, his facts, and did you know content, which put him in great demand as a speaker, a consultant, and a partner on all kinds of projects globally. So as a grassroots marketing strategist and a personal branding coach, he's not just helping out people who write books, but also CEOs and startups who want to understand where their brand is evolving in this new Web 3.0 world that we're all so excited about and making money in. So how do you reach the largest market? Or your largest target market in the lifetime of what we call the millennials? Well, Michael has delivered thousands of presentations and has been featured on stages, radio, TV shows, and more. So I'd like to just turn the mic over to Michael and let him talk about what he knows about Twitter and why it's important to us, and I'll do that right now.
John, I want to say thanks a lot for that kind introduction. And just so you know, I've got my Twitter account open, Michael Butler Sr., and any live questions you have from the audience. And I want to tell you, a lot of our fans, friends, followers, and authors are excited to tune in that follow us on a weekly and daily basis online, are excited to meet you and Barefoot and Rich. And so Michael Butler Sr., I'm going to tell you the story behind that. I've got several stories today on why Twitter is so important for your business, for your brand, for your book if you're an author, and how to leverage it in the most efficient, effective way. See, in the past, homes and houses were built without power tools, and now basically they can build a home in 24 hours or 48 hours with power tools and the right people. And I'm a big advocate of leveraging what you're strong at and outsourcing what you're not so great at. I've got a friend who's got a coaching program. It's called Your One Degree, and it's a coaching program for men, and he focuses on one degree. And you might be good at 2 or 3 things, but there's really one thing that you're genius at, and that's kind of how I look at Twitter. Twitter started as a microblogging platform in California, and it was actually, John, initially and originally for the taxi cab industry. They created an SMS platform that was 140 characters or less, where they would text on their mobile phone and say, I can pick up Mr. Jones at the corner of 5th and Main in 15 minutes, and that would go out to all 20 taxi drivers. And that way they had a dashboard where they could see basically where their business associates were, where the customers were coming in the next few hours, and they could strategically position themselves to execute and get the job done for that day. Well,
hey, Mike,
they realized,
is that why it's 140 characters? Is that the genesis of the 140 characters reasoning?
Exactly. Since it piggybacks on the mobile text SMS platform, that's the strategy there. And I was actually in San Francisco recently after I met you. I went up to San Francisco from San Jose, and I had to go to Twitter, corporate. I had to get my picture there, and I had to check in on Foursquare and tweet it out that I was at Twitter. So, you know, when you look, John, at the money, the millions and millions of dollars that have poured in from investors through the different stages of funding, that startup. People say, why is Twitter so important? Is it just gossip? Why is it valuable to my business? And quite frankly, I tell people this, there's so much new information coming on to Google every day, globally. When you think about how Google struggles to index all of that new content topically, they needed a short-form content platform like Twitter to quickly index, organize, and facilitate that information topically. And so one of the quickest ways for a local business or a book author, for example, we just recently had a book author who's a specialist in bullying and cyberbullying, and the way we were able to leverage her in the media and get her on Dr. Phil and get her past the gatekeepers to the decision makers, because quite honestly, John, movie producers, they're strapped for time and ideas. Their budgets have been slashed in this economy, and if they're going to find an expert in a niche, if there's a cyberbullying suicide that just happened and they do a Google search and they find my client has been out there talking on social media and educating the public about cyberbullying, guess who gets the phone call? Guess who gets the interview?
So let me ask you a question about that. And this is something that I'm probably not the only one that's wondering about this. If you are tweeting regularly, how does that affect the results of a Google search? Are those things coming up in the results of Google searches?
Very great question. You know, the different social media platforms have different purposes and different functionalities. And I encourage every legitimate business owner, speaker, consultant, they need to be on Facebook because that's where the people are. They need to be on Instagram because that's Instagram and Pinterest are where things are heading. The value of Twitter as a social media platform is it is a blogging platform, and like a blog, it gets indexed based on keywords. And so a lot of people, John, they look at Twitter and they think, here is a broadcasting platform for me to 24/7 sell. And it is another sales and marketing channel, and it's a very effective one. But what I have found for myself and our clients, the most effectiveness on Twitter, and let me just check in here at Michael Butler Sr. and see if we got any questions coming in. Checking on my and we're going to talk about some great. People are wanting to have lunch with us, John. It's Central Time here in Dallas, and I'm from Tulsa, but I've got clients in Dallas, and so I love coming to Texas. I love coming to Dallas because it's noon, it's lunchtime here. And more than just gossip or more than just taking a picture of your food and talking about what you're having for lunch, I encourage people. I'm going to go over some basics here. I'm going to give you some basics, then I'm going to give you some free tools, and then I want you to be watching your Twitter stream there at Barefoot and Rich for questions, guys, so John can interject some questions here. Very important to brand yourself on Twitter. It's very important that you completely fill out your profile information if you're an author, if you're a business owner, and it's very important that you put the city that you want business in. In other words, if you're in Atlanta, don't leave that field blank. Twitter's not going to know how to index you. And here in a minute, when I give you the free tools, you're going to find on one of those tools called Twellohood, is you can actually go to twellohood.com and drill down into any new market around the world and find out who the top online influencers are. So we're working with several clients right now globally, marketing in 6 languages, and when we're opening the market in Europe next spring or in Asia this fall, we can drill down specifically into these geographic zip codes and see who the top influencers are in that market. Okay?
All right, so give me an example of for example, a business owner in a particular city and state with a particular business type, and what they would want to include in their profile description and what types of things they need.
Great. Oh, okay, let's say I'm a roofing company, for example, in Atlanta. Let's use Atlanta as an example. And we know roofing is huge, particularly in the storm zones of the country for insurance claim and just revenue. And there's a lot of fly-by-night roofing companies that are storm chasers. So when it comes to credibility, you want to establish credibility, and you want to use Twitter to do that. The beautiful thing about Twitter is you go in and establish credibility by educating. I give a 25% rule of engagement. If you're always out there selling, people are going to unsubscribe from you. They're not going to follow you. The 25% rule of engagement is this. And really, when you think about it, there's a number of different types of restaurants you could go to today, but they all basically serve the same 4 food groups. They're just prepared differently. And so Twitter's one of those things. The whole goal of Twitter is, if you like me on Twitter, then be my friend on Facebook. And you know, John, there's 600 million users on Twitter. And a lot of people discount Twitter because they think, well, I don't get it, I don't understand it. But look at it like this. Facebook, with 1 billion users, we know the value being there. That's where everyone is. But Facebook is more like a gated community. It's permission-based. I have to accept your friend request. Even if you like my page as a fan, I'm not going to let you write on my wall. But Twitter is more like a rock concert. Twitter, you're going to have people bumping into you. You're going to have people that you don't like. Probably there's going to be people barfing on you like at a rock concert. And you just, as a business owner, you got to realize, if a naked woman from China is following me, I can't necessarily help that as a business owner. It doesn't take credibility away from a business, a legitimate business, if somebody shady or illegitimate is following you. Now, I'm going to give you some free tools in a minute. They're going to show you how to save time and clean up your Twitter following so that you've got more of a pre-qualified prospect following you. So let's say there's a 30-year-old roofing company in Atlanta, and they're not engaged correctly or much at all on social media, and let's say, John, you and I decide to send a manager to Atlanta and open a roofing company there, and we do everything right, dotting our I's, crossing our T's, and we use a 25% rule of engagement on connecting with the community. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the question, in the outlying suburbs of Atlanta, I'm going to talk about Savannah, Georgia. I'm going to talk about the suburbs. I'm going to talk about the school mascots. But then I'm also going to not only educate and share industry news and talk about storms, and I'm not always going to be offering our weekly, monthly specials and referrals and saying, hey, we're your guys, spend money with us, insurance claims, yeah, we're here for you. I'm going to be having fun. I'm never going to underestimate the power of humor when marketing my brand. So I'm going to talk about, when there's a meteor shower at night, I'm going to talk about UFOs and Martians landing on the roof of the house. And I'm going to use a photo marketing strategy where I have fun, and I'm going to find pictures on Google of UFOs and cows landing on my house, and I'm going to have fun with it, and I'm going to be outside the box. Now, Twitter, since it's a rock concert, you can be a little more edgy, a little more fun, and connect with the different personality types that are out there. Some people are analytical. Some people are just on there to have fun. Here's the thing. Twitter, John, in my opinion, is the best place to test your marketing strategy out, because we like to say this, a tweet rose up to become a New York Times best-selling book. And how does that happen? How it happens is with the crowd that organically starts following you based on your information and your personality. You're able to market, educate, interact with those people, and that's your crowd that makes you famous. And we tell people that your crowd is already out there. It's just a matter of finding them, and Twitter gives me that 30,000 foot aerial view to find them and connect with them.
Okay, so in that context, convince somebody like me who has not been traditionally a Twitter follower. So I've got a lot of people that I follow to create relationships on Twitter, but I'm not using like a Twitterific or any kind of an app that feeds me tweets all day long. So unless I go to my Twitter account, I don't really see any Twitter traffic. And because of that, I don't have the mindset that everybody is listening to what I'm saying. So convince me that maybe that's different for different people.
I always ask business owners that say nobody's talking to me on social media. I say, how do you know they're not? If a company is not monitoring their brand online, they don't really know what their customers or their dissatisfied customers that have had a bad experience are even saying.
Right.
And Circuit City is a good example of a company that went out of business because they were trying to squash what customers were saying about them in bad reviews online. And Best Buy took a view of that and said, we've got to let our unhappy customers vent. First of all, we got to find out what social media channels they're on. We've got to find out what they're saying. And when they say something negative, rather than squashing them and deleting those comments and basically pissing everybody off, let's let them feel like they've had their say. And what happened, it was like a family relationship. Now all of a sudden we're close, we're tight, and we feel like, hey, I've been heard, they've dealt with the issue, and everybody else saw that they took care of the issue. So,
well, and the great thing about that too, Michael, is that you probably couldn't buy that type of consumer insight. I mean, you don't have the ability to get people to be that forthcoming if you paid them. And here they are freely giving out, their concerns, their comments. Some of them might feel legitimate, but you're hearing about things that they're saying that you otherwise wouldn't know.
John, I know you know a lot of authors. There's a lot of authors out there, and most authors think about marketing the month their book is published. But I tell them, the best time to start marketing your book is a year before it comes out, and to even crowdsource the ideas and concepts in your book through blog posts, through emails, and through social media. I think we're one of the first firms to tweet out an entire book, and we did that just to put it out there. And it was even, here's what I want to do though. I want to get to, we had mentioned twellohood.com. Let's say you're breaking into Europe, you're taking your product to Europe, or let's say you're an author and you want to focus on South Africa. We actually launched a few years ago in South Africa because it's an English-speaking nation. Sometimes people forget about Australia, South Africa, and everywhere else in the world English is spoken. If your product is marketable online, then you don't just want to be confined mentally or on the internet to the United States. You want to, Barefoot and Rich can be marketed globally and in multiple languages. And so Twitter is a microblogging platform. Get other people interacting with you, having fun. Twellohood.com is a great tool to drill down. I tell people, leverage your time online. Now, John, you sent out an email this week and you mentioned Tony Robbins, and he's a self-help guru speaker, and he's mentored many in self-help industry. So I'm glad you used him as an example, because typically what we'll do with a self-help author like yourself, like myself, that is coaching clients all the time, I don't have the time or the resources, and you don't either, and neither do you want to do this when you can leverage it. You can with a tool I'm going to give you called manageflitter.com, and go in and follow with a few clicks everybody that Tony Robbins has chosen to handpick and follow. He's already done the analytics and the math for you. And I tell people, at michaeldbutler.com, I've got 4 links there. One of them is Manage Flitter. It's a free tool. You can use it every day. You can follow or unfollow up to 100 people. And the beautiful thing about it is, John, if you've got a client that, let's say Sue, for example, Sue Zimmerman was your guest here last week. She's up in the Cape Cod area. She can target the most influential people in Cape Cod, not only with Twellohood, but she can follow keywords. And I tell people all the time, if you're in the insurance business or if you're in car sales and you're looking for somebody that just graduated from college, just got married, hey, big news online and all their girlfriends are talking about it when they're showing off the ring. They're like, hey, look at my ring, look at this ring, I'm engaged, and everybody's like, ooh, and they're talking about it online. It's a great time for me if I'm an investment, a retirement planner, if I'm an insurance person. Now, here's my MO, John. I don't just go out there and start directly selling to them insurance products. I'm going to use Manage Flitter. I'm going to follow keywords like engaged, new baby, or if I'm marketing to the senior market or the pet market, then I'm going to use keywords. I'm going to establish a know, like, and trust relationship with those people. So if you go to manageflitter.com, the free side of this lets you use it every day, follow or unfollow up to 100 people, and it's basically you can put keywords in here. Let's say you're going into a new market. For example, if you're going to be speaking in California next month, John, you can follow the influential people online that are in San Francisco or that are in San Diego. For example, I'm in Dallas this week. I come to Dallas a lot. And if you go to Twello Hood, I just noticed this morning, since I live and work in Tulsa, but I had changed my Twitter address to Dallas, and so I've got all these new Dallas people following me because I'm focusing on this market since I live here part of the time. So just real quickly, I'm going to give you the free tools. And if you join part or all of this broadcast today, if you stick around to the end, I'm going to offer you my brand new ebook. Now, I've written 5 ebooks. My first ebook was called Twitter Marketing for Authors, and it did really well. We actually helped 2 authors get movie deals by getting past the gatekeeper, and this is actually just a sheet of paper. You can see it's the book cover. This will be out on Labor Day, but you're going to get this, the old version, and the updated version. And,
right. And
John,
there's also a graphic. There should be a graphic on the right-hand side of the page for people to click on as well.
That way over there. Okay, great. So we're going to give you some free gifts, guys. And the reason I updated this book, it was so helpful to people to understand how Twitter works, but it was also got some free tools in there that have been updated, like Manage Flitter. And then on the front side of michaeldbutler.com, I want to talk to you about TweetAdder. If you're going to follow Twitter's terms of service, you can only have 1 Twitter account per person. And I want to talk to you about branding, how important it is to brand your name on social media sites. Now, when I went to Twitter, you got to realize there's 613 Michael Butlers in the United States. Well, Mike Butler, Mike D. Butler, Michael D. Butler, none of those were available, so I had to go with Michael. Even Michael D. Butler Sr. was not available. Somebody took that. You can only go 15 characters long, and you want your name. You really want your name. I went with Michael Butler Sr., and I feel like my son, who's a junior, will be set for life one day when I'm gone, right? So he hates me now for stealing his name, but he'll thank me later when the royalty checks come in. And it's kind of like this, John. When our parents and grandparents, if there was a fire, they will say the first thing they went into the house for was their photographs, right? Those things that money can't replace. Well, hopefully all of your pictures and photos and videos are now online and backed up. And so I want to talk to you about really leaving a legacy, thinking about what is your brand, what is your life mission. And it might seem like a small thing, but going out there and capturing your name, brand your name on your URL, and make it uniform across all social media platforms as much as possible. You might need to add a middle name, or you might need to come up with a catchy URL like barefootandrich.com. How many of you went to the internet and realized, oh, John already bought that, I'm so angry at myself now, and you're going to be Barefoot and Rich, John. So I would encourage you to also strategically utilize the subtitle name on Twitter, because both of those, the address URL, and John is using Barefoot and Rich on Twitter, and then John Cummings as the sub name, both of those are going to get indexed. And I encourage, if I'm a local dentist, a local business in Pensacola, Florida, and I'm a dentist, I'm going to use the city name to get indexed even quicker, and I'm going to send out tweets. So let's talk about content. But first, let's see if there's any questions. John, do you have any questions on your side? And I'll check over here.
I don't, and I'm not as good at going back and forth to my Twitter account, so I'll leave that to you to get yours. But I just made a screen share.
Oh, good.
Of the Twitter page, so you can see the example that you mentioned.
Yeah, that is an example. Now, actually, what I would recommend here, John, is I would recommend using your name, John Cummings, as the address, because actually what's going to show up in the but I understand, here's where I would look strategically. You're building multiple brands. I would definitely secure Barefoot and Rich and keep that, and I would have one brand that's Barefoot and Rich and one brand that's you personally, John Cummings, because what happens with serial entrepreneurs, you're going to have multiple verticals, and you're going to have multiple companies that you run, manage, or a joint venture partner in. You know, the new Steve Jobs movie comes out this week, and Ashton Kutcher is the star actor there playing Steve Jobs. And Hollywood and authors and entertainers have showed us that with every book, you need to have a Twitter account for every book. And some people might feel that that's laborious, but I'm going to show you the value of that. One of my clients here in Dallas is a Fox Business contributor Judy Hoberman, as she wrote the book called Selling in a Skirt. So on Twitter, she is Selling in a Skirt. So it lets you know she coaches and trains women on how to sell better.
Great name. Love that name.
Yeah, you know, it's a great name. And her new book, John, came out this week. It's called Famous Isn't Enough. And so we set up the Twitter account, Famous Isn't Enough. But here's the valuable thing. We link them together. And so when I tell you we linked them together, if you go to twitter.com/selling in a skirt, or if you go to Famous Isn't Enough, they're linked back and forth to each other. And so there's a specific demographic we're targeting with one book, sales managers and women sales professionals and HR sales managers, sales trainers, and then the Famous Isn't Enough is targeted more toward entrepreneurs, speakers, authors, and there you have it. And actually Selling in a Skirt, we've got her set up in USA, and Famous Isn't Enough, we got her set up in Dallas, Texas. So in answering the question about how much traffic, John, can somebody drive to their website with Twitter, I got to tell you, 60% of our business last year with consulting and social media came in through social media. And that's unpaid. We didn't spend any dollars. It all came through Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And I encourage everybody, if you're a business, get on LinkedIn, get on Facebook, get on Twitter, get on YouTube, and then start providing valuable content. So 25% of your content, 25% of the time you're educating, industry news and facts, setting yourself apart as the expert, testimonials, you're rehearsing. And I'm going to show you some automation tools here, John. If I have a testimonial from somebody that says, hey, listen, a UFO or a meteorite came crashing through our roof, and ABC Roofing Company did an awesome job and cleaned up their mess and treated us like gold, then I'm going to ask permission to use that testimonial. And Judy Hoberman is always getting testimonials when she speaks. John, you're collecting testimonials on, I met John, I went through Barefoot and Rich, I went through the training series on getting past the technology, and now I'm a rock star. You want to use that testimonial and put it in your tweet list. And how do you broadcast and save time? Well, you can tweet on your phone. This will save you time. This is where most people are tweeting from. I use my phone before, during, and after a networking event. If you're out there networking and you're handing out business cards and you're talking to people about your business, that's great. But what if, and have you seen a lot of people doing social media buttons here on their business card? That's an additional way for you to stay engaged and in contact with people, particularly as you travel. And before, during, and after an event like Experts Academy, John, I know you continue to reach out to people through email and social media, and that's the real value of having a long-term relationship with somebody.
Yeah, and I want to just point out something. If you could just mute your side for a second, so
okay.
Echo. The concept of putting out valuable content is something that I think people get confused about, and they put things out that really aren't meaningful or helpful to, number one, their brand, and number two, the ultimate end of their funnel. So if it's trying to get people to hire you in person or to speak, or getting people to buy a product from you, I've found a lot of value myself, and I've been actually using Twitter more and more for this, in creating something that is the end point of your efforts to get attention from people, so that when they get there, they don't feel like they wasted their time following that link. So I'll put together, this week actually it was a topical thing. I think you probably enjoyed this because of your strategy. I had gotten a link from my daughter about Ashton Kutcher speaking at the Teen Choice Awards. And fittingly, he was talking about how Steve Jobs had inspired him in some way, and there's a quote that he talks about, people are smarter than you, or you think people are smarter than you, and you need to get over that. Well, there's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect, and I just kind of pulled all this together into an article. I put a very highly keyword-loaded YouTube video as an embedded video into my blog post, and then I sent that out on Instagram, which went to Twitter and Facebook at the same time. So in about 25 minutes, I wrote an article, embedded a video that wasn't mine, but was topical, and then in an extra 5 minutes, just by putting it through Instagram and choosing Facebook and Twitter, I had that on all three places. So I'm going to talk next week in my Product Rocket Launcher seminar about how you should start to put things that that bring you forward in what, like you mentioned, your book, right? If you wait until a month when your book is being launched and you don't send out the birth announcements a year in advance, nobody's going to care when that baby lands in their lap. They want to know that it's coming. They want to get prepared for it. They want to buy little outfits for the baby. And I'm going to talk about that next week. But that's, I think, where I want to hear you talk more about maybe the pieces that we should use and how often we should use them in terms of getting our content out.
Well, that's a great example, and it got a lot of viral. That's very smart. Speaking of Ashton Kutcher, and I'm going to answer your question with this, in our work with human trafficking authors and getting a movie deal for morethanrice.com, a journey through the underworld of human trafficking, Pamela Kennedy Chestnut, we were able to leverage her and her book about human trafficking and creating awareness. Even though it was a fiction novel, Ashton Kutcher got involved in tweeting it, and at the time he had the most followers on Twitter. Now, I would rather have my client be tweeted by Ashton, who now has, I think, 14, 15 million followers, than to appear on ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, and all the major news outlets, simply because he was making things happen. And at that time, he and Demi were the go-to people with the DNA Foundation on human trafficking awareness globally. And so, John, when it comes to keywords, follow people that are experts in your industry and in your niche. Look at what's trending on Twitter. I tell people that if they'll just log in 5 minutes a day or 20 minutes twice a week, they can grow their Twitter following to 100,000 users within 2 years if they'll follow the formula. Yeah, that's a hand clap. Provide valuable content. Don't always tweet other people's stuff, and don't always send people to other people's blogs, just like what John did today. Here's something he wanted to write about. He put it on his blog, and that's the thing. Initially, if I'm moving into the market and I'm working with a group of dentists, I'm going to make sure that I'm following hillbillies that have no teeth. I'm going to make sure that I'm following Hollywood superstars that get paid for having beautiful smiles, and then I'm going to talk about all extremes from one end to the other. We're going to mix humor, talk about content. We are going to ask questions, John. We're going to ask questions like, have you had a meteorite or a UFO go through your roof recently? Those are the kind of questions. Are you bald and losing your hair? If I'm marketing for Hair Club for Men, those are the kinds of questions I'm going to be asking. It might be not a fun topic to talk about, but we can certainly make it fun. And with Ashton Kutcher's example there, I loved what he said. I shared it with my 4 young 20-year-old and teenage sons about getting out and getting a job. And so in looking at things in the media, if I'm a divorce attorney, I'm going to be talking about a few years ago when Governor Arnold and Maria Shriver were going through their divorce. Those are the kinds of things I'm going to be talking about if I want to be recognized as a celebrity.
Yeah, I think I just muted you by accident, Michael. Hold on a second. Can you say something real quick?
Testing 1, 2. I just hit the unmute button from my end. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to wrap up here in about 4 minutes, John, then we'll check if there's questions. I'm going to give you the 4 free tools that I use every day for me and for my clients. They are manageflitter.com. They are tweetatter.com. They are hootsuite.com. And if you forget these or can't remember them, they're going to be on the website there at michaeldbutler.com. Hootsuite, like the owl, Hootsuite. It's what Fortune 100 companies use to manage their brands online, John. And what I love about it is I can set up any keyword checks listening. You're talking about monitoring your own brand online, seeing what others are saying online. You can follow it all right there, and it'll help you expedite and save time on posting to Facebook and Twitter. I use Hootsuite daily. There's a free version, and there's an upcharge version if you're managing more than 5 accounts. Go out there and get your name. Get your name on every social media account, starting with Twitter, because what you start with on Twitter can be replicated on every single social media site. The marketing goal for myself and clients is, hey, listen, start a fire, gather a crowd, and sell popcorn. That's the initial thing you do to get a crowd online. And the whole goal of Twitter is, if you like what I'm saying on Twitter, follow me to the gated Facebook community where we can have more meaningful interaction, where we can use a photo marketing strategy, where we can basically take you into a sales funnel, because Twitter is the wide end of the sales funnel, John. It's the rock concert where we're going to find people that we have a common interest with, then we're going to be able to take it further. But the gateway social media platform is Twitter. It's why I love it. It's because it gets indexed by Google, and basically if you're changing jobs, or even if you're in a career transition, you could easily set yourself up. If I want to be noticed as the go-to attorney for personal injury in a new market, I'm going to go straight to Twitter. I've had personal injuries attorneys thank us, and it was because of Twitter they got a new client. Realtors in other states who thanked us because when their client moved to another state, we helped them sell a house and get a contract, and it was all through using these tools I'm telling you about on twellohood.com, manageflitter.com, tweetatter.com, and every one of these platforms I shared with you has an opportunity to broadcast your tweets 24/7 while you sleep. And I'm going to close with this. I just had a question on Twitter at Michael Butler Sr., John. You might have seen it on Barefoot and Rich. How frequent is too frequent to post on Twitter? Great question. We get it all the time. If you're posting more than 3 or 4 times an hour on Twitter, that's probably too much. If you're posting that frequently on Facebook, it's definitely too much. But people expect on Twitter you to be more noisy. And if you're asking questions and you're sharing funny things, and if you're tweeting out pictures and videos, people are going to appreciate that a lot more than if you're just selling, selling, selling. But also 33% of the time to 50% of the time, share a link, drive them back to your blog post, give them a free offer, give them a free video from YouTube, give them a free ebook, and always thank them and ask, how can I help you? And when people see you're there to serve them and you're there to add value, they're going to share you with their friends and their colleagues.
If you just mute me for a second, Michael, on your side. So would it be a good strategy then to say, you know, I know on Facebook, I think if you're posting more than once or twice a day, you start to annoy people who don't have as many friends. You take up all of their feed. Twitter, like you said, is a lot of a noisier rock concert. So would it be sufficient in your mind, unless you've got something that's really, you know, you need to get a lot of attention about, to tweet maybe 3 or 4 times a day and have, you know, 2 or 3 of those times to look at your fraction be maybe something that you just saw, something you just took a picture of, maybe you've done it through Instagram, and then 1 out of your 3 or 4 tweets a day would be actually driving somebody to another place where you've got content in like the form of a blog or a video.
That's a great strategy. That's a great way to mix it up. Establishing local credibility is huge. If you're going to take a picture with a client or share a client testimonial, it's just like on Facebook. Tweet out a video with that. Tweet out a picture with that. I really want to encourage, though, from the branding standpoint, you may have the cutest grandkids and the cutest chihuahua, but people really, if they want to do business with you, give them an up-close personal face. Because this convention I'm at this weekend, people are recognizing me because of my bald head, and they're recognizing me because I follow them online, and I've said something positive about them online. So I think the greatest way, there's some venture capitalists at this event, and one of the millionaires that was coaching some of the companies on how to get funding, he said, don't just go in with your hand out, pay a compliment. You know, and that's one thing I do. If I'm following somebody that is somebody I respect in a niche, I'll go pay them a compliment, and I'll go say something nice about them online before I come to their town. I'll retweet one of their articles or give them a congratulations on an award they won.
Okay, one last question for me is, again, if you'll mute that on your end, so I don't echo. Somebody actually emailed me and said the echo was really bad, so I'm sorry about that, whoever sent me that email. But and I think that I'm in the category that I'm going to ask about. If you're currently using Twitter, but you're not using it very often, and you're wondering whether or not it's something that you should start doing like tomorrow, how much time should I invest, or how should somebody invest on a daily basis? Like, how much of this time, of my time, will this take up?
That's a great question, John. I would say spend 5 minutes a day over the next 7 days. Spend 5 minutes a day. Get your URL with your name, upload the picture you use on Facebook, get an up close of your face so people can recognize you, say something about you personally, and then go write 50 tweets. You know what I think? If you want to publish a book, here's what I could do. After 30 days of following you on Twitter, there's actually a program that will publish your tweets into a book. And some of you that have been struggling with writing your first book, it's memoirs of John Cummings. It's memoirs of Sue Zimmerman. It's the memoirs of Michael Butler. And it's just your musings over the last 30, 90, or 180 days. So to answer your question, John, if somebody will write 50 initial tweets on what they're real passionate about, your life philosophy, your soapbox story, whatever it is, your quotes that you're famous for saying to your kids and your grandparents said to you when you grew up, turn those into tweets and upload them into TweetAdder or ManageFlitter or Hootsuite and schedule them to go out once every 2 or 3 hours so that you're getting indexed by Google search engines on Twitter. Let that automation work for you and add value to drive to. Maybe you're saying, I don't have a website up yet. Great. Facebook's your website. The first website you need is Facebook. And maybe it's the only website you need to drive traffic from Twitter. And what you'll find is once you pre-qualify those people, they're more likely to enjoy your post and to eventually buy from you because they like your brand, they like your angle, your humor, and your content. So get started today, put the tools to work, and then just log in every couple of days for a couple of minutes and see who's talking to you by clicking on the at mention.
Great. Michael, if you'll mute your end for 1 second, I'm going to just make a closing announcement. So if you'll go to the link on, I think I'm pointing to the right side of the page, I'm not sure which way it is. There's Michael's banner is there, and if you click on that, you'll be able to go to his website and find the links to those 4 websites or programs that he mentioned. And then you can always email Michael if you have a question about those. But those are the 4 he's recommending. You may not know the spellings of them or the addresses, but he'll have that on his website. And also some of the information about his upcoming book and some of the other services Michael offers, not just in Twitter, but in pulling your entire social media marketing plan and your brand together. Also on the right-hand side of your page, you're going to find a link to sort of a soft introduction to a product I'm calling Product Rocket Launcher. This was at the request of dozens and dozens of people who are kind of stuck with a product that they are sort of working on and have been working on for a very long time. It might be a book, it might be a product, it might be some offering that you have, and they're stuck. And so I put this together as a way to get you over the stuck point in 30 days, and I'll be doing a webinar next Friday, so watch for an announcement in your email about the time and the location of that webinar, where I'm going to tell you how to get whatever you have right now finished enough to get it out within 30 days. Anybody who's got any kind of product or book can launch, as I'm going to define that next Friday, in 30 days. So, Michael, thank you so much for coming on the Hangout today. I hope everybody enjoyed learning more about Twitter. That's a great applause. And, Michael, any closing words from you?
I would encourage people to subscribe. Your webinar on getting past the technology, most people don't get started because they're waiting on perfection. And I would say get started now, leave a legacy, do it for your kids, do it for yourself, do it for your family, and get started with you.
Okay, great.
John, it was a lot of fun.
Thanks again. I'll talk to you offline. And everybody, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at carefortherich.com or Michael at michaeldbutler.com. Have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the weekend.